Here's an hypothesis for you. If a cook barges into your kitchen, uses your ingredients, uses your kitchen appliance to make food, whose food does it belong to? Join us on our 4th episode of Africa's Secret Files to find out whose. Welcome to Tunachiki's Africa Secret Files. I am your host, The Blank, and this is a series where we uncover hidden truths concerning the African continent and where we try to expose the perpetrators. And in today's 4th episode, we will be discussing how the Western countries conspired to destroy Africa's only nuclear arsenal. So before we start, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It's the best way to show YouTube this is an interesting video, and it will recommend it to more like-minded people like you. So let's dig in today's secret files. So did you know that South Africa didn't have 1, 2, or 3, but 6 nuclear warheads, right? So let's find out what went wrong and why South Africa these days, Africa doesn't have a nuclear arsenal to protect itself. So South Africa is the only country to voluntarily give up its nuclear weapons. In 1991, South Africa shut down its nuclear test site and closed its uranium enrichment facility. Afterwards, it joined the NTP and as a non-nuclear country. On March 24, 1993, in a speech to South Africa's apartheid government, then President F.W. de Klerk announced publicly that his country had secretly built and dismantled 6 nuclear weapons at a now estimated cost of $1 billion. So there you've had it. So let's discuss. South Africa built 6 nuclear warheads. They were estimated to be the size of the ones the United States used on Hiroshima. So these weapons were apparently destroyed before the African government took control of South Africa in 1994. So let's see what actually happened, right? So how did a country like apartheid South Africa, right? Sanctioned country, embargoed country, have the capability of building 6 nuclear warheads? Today, many countries cannot even afford to do that, right? And South Africa was then embargoed, was then sanctioned, and they still managed to build 6 nuclear weapons. So the question is, who helped them do this? So sources has it that the United States, the UK, France, and Israel helped apartheid South Africa to be able to have these nuclear weapons, to be able to have the technology to build these nuclear weapons. So the reason is, at the time, there was an urgent UN vote to denounce, sanction the apartheid government in South Africa for their apparent human rights violations. But there were a few countries that refused to vote. So first, it was the United Kingdom, which was the highest investor in South Africa's apartheid government, followed by the United States, which was the second highest investor in the South African apartheid government economy, followed by France, which was the third investor in the apartheid government of South Africa, then followed by Israel, right? So these countries, let's say, helped this apartheid South African government to build these nuclear weapons, and at an estimated cost of $1 billion, right? And you know, that's not accounting for inflation, right? This was done in like in the 1970s, right? So you can imagine, at an estimated $1 billion, not accounting for inflation, they managed to do it. So the shocking thing is, before South Africa gained independence, before the Africans took control of South Africa, this happened. The then apartheid president, F.W. de Klerk, decided to denuclearize the apartheid South Africa, right? And he did this in the most shady way possible, where they used trucks at night and nobody knew what they were doing. They hid all the activities. Nobody, very few people in South Africa. Apparently, the source is like only 10 people in the whole of South Africa knew that the country had 6 nuclear warheads, knew that the country was going to destroy them before giving power to the Nelson Mandela's government, right? Ask yourself, why would a country give up all this power, right? There are only 8 countries, not counting Israel, who own nuclear weapons, right? And it's a prestigious club. It's a club of control. It's a club of the people who control this planet. So why did South Africa voluntarily get out of this club? Well, because somebody else would have joined that club that no other country would have wanted, right? The United States didn't want South African government to have control of nuclear warheads. The United Kingdom didn't want that. Spain, France, Portugal didn't want that. This is the only reason why they denuclearized. So the then apartheid president was like, oh, we're doing the right thing because nuclear weapons are bad. But no, they just didn't want Nelson Mandela's people to have control of this weapon, right? So how did they do it? How did they denuclearize apartheid South Africa before handing it to the Africans, right? So they conspired with agents from these countries that we've mentioned, and they basically did it in the night, but there's one problem, right? So with nuclear weapons, if you disassemble it, the enriched uranium is very hard to get rid of, right? Because it's dangerous, it's volatile, and it must be put in a secure place. So they hid tons of enriched uranium, right? And apparently this enriched uranium is in the hands of the current South African government. And for decades, the United States, till today, the United Kingdom, France, have been trying to tell the South African government to get rid of this enriched nuclear material. So you might ask, why don't they want South Africa to still have the enriched nuclear material, right? They got rid of the nukes. Why not also keep these materials? Because South Africa can easily make another nuclear weapon. It's just a matter of money. They've got the know-how, they've got the enriched uranium, which is usually the most hardest thing to get if you are starting a nuclear program. Ask Iran, ask Libya, right? So South Africa can decide to have its own nuclear weapons, and who knows, maybe the government secretly has nuclear weapons that it's waiting to reveal when the time comes. Yeah. So the point of this show today was to show you the length to which these Western countries can go to depower the continent of Africa, right? Africa would have been a superpower if these 6 nuclear warheads would have still remained in power. Africa would have had a seat at the Security Council, right? If these 6 nuclear warheads would have remained in power, Libya would have never gotten invaded. No other countries, all this tomfoolery that goes on in Africa wouldn't be allowed if South Africa had these nuclear weapons and used it in the appropriate way, right? So Africa will have had power, will have a seat at the Security Council, will have had a say-so in this continent. But that's not the case because apparently some groups of people conspired to work with an apartheid government, to work with a racist government, to first of all help them make the weapons, right? And second, help them destroy the weapon once they knew they had lost the fight, right? Before you go, please make sure to share this video because I can assure you, many of you didn't know South Africa had nuclear warheads, right? So if today you've learned something new, please share this knowledge to more people. Tell people what happened, why South Africa doesn't have those nuclear weapons anymore. It's really important to expose these things to more Africans so that we all know the world that we're living in, okay? Yeah, so with that said, this has been your host, The Blank, and thank you for joining us on our 4th episode of Africa Secret Files. Let us know if you love this series, and if you do so, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It's the best way to tell YouTube this is a good video, and it will share it to more like-minded people like you. And with that said, always remember, Africa is watching.